Hello everyone, today I'm going to be ranking the seasons of Ninjago. This will include the pilots and Day of the Departed, so let's get right into it. So at the bottom of my list is Day of the Departed, and I feel like this is an opinion shared by many others. As many of you might know, Day of the Departed was supposed to be Season 7, Rise of the Villains. It was supposed to be its own season. For whatever reason, I think it might have had something to do with the Ninjago movie, but I'm not entirely sure. It got shortened to a 1-hour special, and I think that really hurt it a lot. It was supposed to center around Cole, and it did that very successfully, but it just felt not that good. It felt a significant quality decrease when it comes to story writing. For instance, the whole Rift of Return thing, well, isn't that convenient that it just decided that the Rift of Return is opening on this very day? Isn't that convenient that there's a ghost ninja? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that annoys me with this. The other thing is that there were too many subplots running at once, and the way that they got rid of some of the villains was really stupid. And some of the worst of them was Cryptor, who literally just tripped and died. And then Chen wasn't that bad. Chen wasn't that good either, who got a missile shot at him. And then Pythor, he fell from a cliff, and yeah. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Pythor, the Day of the Departed ruined him. He's now a bad guy again? I mean, he's really inconsistent. He goes from a bad guy in Season 1, bad guy in Season 3, good guy in Season 4, and now a bad guy again. Well, here's the good thing. At least they didn't do that with Moro. They had the reason to keep Moro as a good guy, but they couldn't do that with Pythor. For these many reasons, I felt like Day of the Departed was the worst Ninjago season. Or well, I mean, it's not a season, but you get what I'm saying. I feel like this is another slightly popular opinion. In 9th place, I put Hands of Time. This season was okay, to say the least. Villains were really cool, but there were some other things that really weren't, such as their motives and just pretty much there was something I haven't told you. Basically, the entire season is about this old threat that has returned from the past, and it adds on to more of the history from the Serpentine War with the Time Twins, who were once formal elemental masters, but turned. Now, this is where stuff gets really bad. Their motives suck, and sounds mean, but they really do. Their motives are probably the worst motives of any Ninjago character ever. Basically, they felt like their element was superior, so they thought they could take over the world. And in addition, their saying control time, control everything is just really stupid. It really is. Their motives are probably the worst motives of any Ninjago villain. But the actual villains themselves, they're not bad. They have a really cool concept idea. There were worse Ninjago villains out there, such as like Kozu or Samukai or General Cryptor. But they're actually really cool ideas. They just weren't done right. The writing is also not as good, and the focus is really clear, if not maybe too clear. Too much Kai and Nia. Not enough. Now, I do like that they solved the mystery of Kai and Nia's parents, but it did feel a little underwhelming to me. Good season, but the villains kind of brought it down. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion. At 8, I have Rebooted. There are several reasons why I didn't really like this season. It felt extremely repetitive to me. For instance, there are pretty much 2 scenes with the Nindroid Mech Dragon, 2 scenes where the Nindroid Mech Dragon is destroyed, 2 scenes where Pythor attacks the Borg Tower. It just felt really repetitive. And not to mention, the Overlord is a returning villain too. Now, I did feel like it was absolutely necessary for the Overlord to return. He got the short end of the stick in Season 2 by being defeated, but it's still a villain coming back. There were just a lot of repetitive elements, and it just felt too serious. It didn't feel like Ninjago. The humor's all gone. In addition, and connects to later seasons too, the season was apparently like a new age for Ninjago, in which technology is everywhere, but in seasons following, such as Season 4 and Season 8 and Season 6, all the technology is suddenly gone, which is really inconsistent. Like all these hover cars, you don't see them anymore. In seventh place, I have the pilots. I feel like the pilots are really underrated. A lot of people overlook them, but they're actually really not that bad. There are several reasons why I like the pilots. They were the first formation, the first showing of the ninja team, and it also showed their quest for the golden weapons. Now, if that wasn't enough, Garmadon is simply amazing at the pilots. I feel like this time, like the pilots really captured that evil mastermind kind of feel, and even the end where Samukai betrays Garmadon and he pretty much gets killed, that had a lot of character development for him, and also that final monologue where he jumps into the vortex. I don't know, I just really loved Garmadon in this season. Now, of course, he got really cool when Season 2 came around, but I felt like he was also an amazing villain for the pilots, and the pilots set up what was to come beautifully. This is where the seasons start to get really good. So in the number 6 spot, I have Season 1, Rise of the Snakes. This season was so fun to watch, and it's so nostalgic when you look back at it. It characterizes all the ninja wonderfully, and it also shows their growth from the very beginning, just students, to masters in training, kind of. And they all learn to accept who they are, and that's one of the big messages in this season with the whole true potential thing and accepting who you are. That's one of the greatest messages in this season. But yeah, aside from that, Pythor was also a great villain, and I loved his characterization. He was very charming, and yeah, I really liked Pythor and the snakes. This season gives me a lot of nostalgia, but when you compare it to other seasons, it's not as good when we look at villain and some other stuff too, including plot. But overall, the season had a great message behind it, and it did wonderfully to give character development to both villains and heroes. So now we're at the top 5, and Legacy of the Green Ninja, or Season 2, makes it to number 5. This season, the season picked up right where Season 1 left off, right after the Devourer fight. And Garmadon wastes no time to start his evil scheming. Personally, I actually like the quote-unquote filler episodes. There are a lot of people, including big names like Tanner Fishies, who dislike episodes 14 through 19. They were considered filler episodes because of something with set timings. I think for the final battle sets, I'm not entirely sure how to explain this, but it had to do with when they were releasing the sets compared to the season. So it could have really stood alone as 2 seasons, but more or less the season was divided into 2 parts. The filler episodes and the actual good part. Well, the actual real part. So the real part of the season is where the Overlord comes in, and the Stone Army. The Overlord is a wonderful villain, and he's able to manipulate one of Ninjago's greatest masterminds, that being Garmadon, of course. Stone Army is also really cool, and this season does very well to elaborate on more of Ninjago's history. It also finishes the battle that has been mentioned since episode 1, actually, and it doesn't fail to deliver. The final battle is truly amazing to watch, with a brilliant soundtrack that complements it beautifully. In 4th place, we have Season 5, Possession. The season was definitely one of the fan favorite seasons, and many fans love this season as their favorite season. I'm not one of them. I do like other seasons more than this one, but nevertheless, I still love this season. Only reason why it's not at the top of this list is because the plot is really boring, and it's pretty much, you just have to collect these items to do this, and that's pretty much every Ninjago plot. Maybe I'll make a video about that, but this one just feels incredibly boring. However, everything else is amazing. Nia finally gets the role that she's deserved since the very beginning of the show. Moro is a stunning villain with a very harrowing background, and it's really, his story is really unique, of the boy who wanted to become the Green Ninja. I also like how the introduction of even possessing a hero, the villain doing that, I like that being included. That's a new thing. Overall, the season is really good, just the plot brings it down for me. In 3rd place, we have Season 6, Skybound. This might be a more unpopular opinion, but I honestly love Skybound. Nanakon is a really unique villain. He's also very charming, reminds me a lot of Pythor, but again, he's the last of his kind, charming, a leader. But anyway, that's besides the point. Pirates are finally making their debut as the main faction of a season, and this faction is really unique. The Sky Pirates are incredibly diverse, with one of them being a weird skeleton person, another a snake, another giant hulking big fig, I guess, and then the leader being a djinn. I love the uniqueness and diversity of these Sky Pirates as a faction. I also like that Jay and Nia's relationship is finally developing. It's been hinted at since the very beginning, since the pilots actually, but now it's finally being developed. Jay is no longer seen as a joke character either, or a comic relief. He's finally getting his own season where he gets a ton of development. Though the entire season is erased at the end, it's still an amazing season. This is another fan favorite season, but the runner-up season, I have season 4, Tournament of Elements. I love this season because it introduced a wide variety of unique characters to the story. These being Griffin Turner, Skylar, and the rest of the Elemental Masters. I also like that Kai is finally getting a girlfriend, with that being Skylar, of course. And I like how she's not like Pixel was in Rebooted. Kai, she was actually evil, and then I like that she has a connection to the villain too. Oh yes, the villain. Chen is a really unique villain and an amazing character too. He's a better character than he is a villain, but that's beside the point. He's goofy, and that's new for a Ninjago villain. He's extremely humorous too, and this season is funny. Now at the end, the end of the season doesn't fail to disappoint either. It ends with Garmadon being sacrificed, and he stays in the Cursed Realm dead pretty much for 5 seasons actually, before he's revived in season 8. So I do like that. I love this season. The finale was probably necessary to take out Sensei Garmadon at that point. But yeah, the finale and the entire season was amazing, and it clarified the Serpentine War, which was a topic that had been brought up a while ago. So overall, it's an amazing season, but not as good as my first choice. Season 8 takes the lead for me, and there's a couple factors that really send this season sky high. Let's talk about the villain first. Harumi was the main antagonist of Season 8, and her motives were probably the best motives out of any Ninjago villain ever. Basically, she wants Lloyd to suffer inside when she brings Garmadon back. She wants his heart to break apart. Not only that, but she pretty much tells Lloyd that she doesn't love him after making him believe that they had something together. So her motives are real deep down, and she pretty much wants she wants Lloyd to suffer inside. Her backstory is also another thing to mention too. I love that we're finally getting some clearance that people actually died during the Great Devourer attack. Now, as for the other Sons of Garmadon generals, they're nothing too special, except for Ultraviolet, who is an amazing character also. She's insane in the head, I think that makes her awesome. Now, the plot itself, meh, but Lloyd also, I like that Lloyd had a new voice actor. It's about time that we've seen him mature some more. The last time that he matured was in Season 2 when he, of course, was hit with the Tomorrow's Tea. But now he's even older. It's a new Lloyd, kind of, but that's okay. I think Ninjago is ready for this change. We've had the same designs for 7 seasons. That's roughly 7 years. And I think it was necessary to bring in new designs. So that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, share with everyone you know. And I will see you next time.